American Psycho as smart cinema. As the last decade of the 20th century witnessed a new generation of filmmakers emerging in the Hollywood scene, the kind of content that was to be produced changed drastically. The young creatives brought with them themes which strongly resonated with their life experiences, and which was aimed from the start to separate them from the mainstream content that plagued the film and television industry. In his 2006 article in Contemporary American Cinema, Jeffrey Sconce describes the new filmmakers as distrustful of the hippie past, dismayed by the yuppie present, and disillusioned with a bumpy future. A bitter Gen X retreated into ironic disengagement as a means of non-participatory coexistence with boomers and their domination of the cultural and political landscape. Frustrated and enraged by the content that seemed to promote a kitsch-consuming culture and present a loss of moral values, plenty of satirical films were created as a means of criticizing society.
That's quite a wrap you're wearing. Perhaps I could get you some fluffy new slippers made from the heads of innocent and defenseless baby seals.
Since some type of connection to historical reality needs to be emphasized when it comes to satire, the 1990s offered plenty of opportunities for this new movement to thrive. The scale at which this type of satirical film was produced ultimately led to the creation of a new, separate genre. Satire has a particular significance as a category of American film during the 1990s. This new movement in American cinema was first defined in 2002 by Jeffrey Sconce as smart cinema. According to Sconce, the main characteristics which separated these films from the rest are irony, black humor, fatalism, relativism, and occasional nihilism, a particularly active battleground in a larger moral debate over the place of cynicism, irony, postmodernism, secular humanism, and cultural relativism in contemporary popular culture.
Marvin, what do you make of all this?
Man, I don't even have an opinion.
Well, you gotta have an opinion. I mean, do you think that God came down from heaven and stopped us?
Oh, what the fuck's happening? Oh,
man.
shit, man.
Oh, man, I shot Marvin in the face.
Why the fuck you do that?
Used to describe films which succeeded Quentin Tarantino's 1994 film Pulp Fiction, smart cinema is popularly considered to have peaked in 1999 with the release of David Fincher's Fight Club and Spike Jonze's Being John Malkovich. The essence of what smart cinema is aiming to criticize can be extracted from the philosophical speeches of Fight Club's protagonist, Tyler Durden. He tells his followers to abandon the misguided dreams of mass cult fame that have mystified their lives.
Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives.
Despite having dissipated in concentration since the 90s, smart films have also been produced in the 21st century. This new wave of satirical film did not end with the 1990s. Exceptions included American Psycho, satirizing the protagonist's extreme consumerism, identity, and politics of taste. American Psycho can be categorized as part of the smart cinema movement, described by Peter Deacon as a fiction within a cultural movement where the political met the commodity and the saleable image. Mary Harron's 2000 film American Psycho presents a critique of the incredibly superficial and artificial life of Patrick Bateman, a stereotypical 1980s New York yuppie who lives in the coke and limo Wall Street of the 80s, a world dominated by hedonism, greed, and egocentrism. In an introductory scene highlighting Patrick Bateman's morning routine and habits, the audience gets a first insight into the protagonist's lifestyle. In a luxurious, spacious, all-white apartment, through his complex skincare regimen and rigorous exercise routines, Bateman highlights his narcissism and superficiality. The extensive cabinet of skincare products proves that life is to him a supermarket of desires packaged with designer labels.
There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there.
Through Bateman's monologue, the viewer can see that despite his physical appeal, he is empty on the inside to the point of disassociation. That even though Patrick seems to have a well-organised and structured life, he is so fragmented and de-individualised by his insane consumerism and his hyper-yuppie vision that he cannot, or Informer simply does not, exist as a person. Looking to compensate for his lack of being by engaging in pop consumer culture, we can see Patrick's obsession to dominate throughout the film. From designer clothes to apartments, business cards, and expensive restaurant reservations, everyone on Wall Street seems to be in a constant competition with each other, each looking to conceal the uneasy secret of looking important without being important. This way, the film highlights once again the subjects of its satire, the core beliefs of yuppiedom, which had become so well entrenched that no one noticed them anymore, and the misogynistic fallout of a masculinity in crisis. Bateman is aware that there are no substantial differences between them when Paul Allen mistakes him for another colleague. Though offended, the fact that Patrick ends up so easily personifying Marcus Halberstram proves once again that the 80s yuppies were essentially one and the same.
Hello, Halberstram. Nice tie. How the hell are you?
Allen has mistaken me for this dickhead Marcus Halberstram. It seems logical because Marcus also works at P&P and in fact does the same exact thing I do. He also has a penchant for Valentino suits and Oliver Peoples glasses. Marcus and I even go to the same barber, although I have a slightly better haircut.
So how's the ransom account going, Marcus?
It's all right.
Really? That's interesting. It's not great.
Oh, well, you know.
So how's Cecilia? She's a great girl.
Oh, yeah. I'm very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Unsurprisingly, Bateman eventually reveals his true intention to his fiancée, that he distinguishes himself by fitting in, and ultimately uses it in his advantage to get away with several murders, knowing that he can effortlessly get lost in the crowd. Blinded by egocentrism, he justifies his violence towards innocents as simply being less important and useful to society than him. After Bateman manages to successfully personify Halberstram and not be believed to have killed Paul Allen despite confessing the murder to his lawyer, through his monologue, a last insight into his mind is offered, that he enjoys and will continue to hurt people.
There are no more barriers to cross. All I have in common with the uncontrollable and the insane, the vicious and the evil, all the mayhem I have caused and my utter indifference toward it, I have now surpassed. My pain is constant and sharp, and I do not hope for a better world for anyone. In fact, I want my pain to be inflicted on others. I want no one to escape. But even after admitting this, there is no catharsis. My punishment continues to elude me, and I gain no deeper knowledge of myself. No new knowledge can be extracted from my telling. This confession has meant nothing.
By confessing that the lack of punishment is the reason why he will forever be stuck in a loop of bad habits, Bateman ultimately reveals that his behaviour is the result of a problem much larger than him: society. From omnipresent ignorance and egocentrism, an anarchic society emerges, in which overlooking illegalities not only spares the criminal the punishment, but also encourages them to keep happening. Despite most of the genre's characteristic directors having changed tones since the release of American Psycho, the movement is currently still very much present in the Hollywood scene, with greatly successful titles like The Wolf of Wall Street and Don't Look Up. Smart cinema will continue to circulate, especially among those filmmakers most closely associated with the cultural moment of late boomer and Gen X politics. To conclude, by satirizing the 1980s Wall Street yuppies and their consumerism, greed, and egocentrism, Mary Harron's American Psycho not only fits the definition of smart cinema, but also marks the smooth transition of the movement into the 21st century.